Hi guys, welcome to a video showcasing NFL logo and helmet designs that you probably never knew existed. These designs were created for NFL teams to use, but they were never actually used in-game or in practice because either the teams decided to go with a different design or stay with the design that they used at the time. So let's check them out. So in February of 1991, the San Francisco 49ers front office wanted to change their helmets a little bit by adding a new modern looking logo onto their helmet. So this is what they came up with, which is just a 49ers logo, and it was actually never worn in-game because fans in the Bay Area absolutely hated it. They felt that removing the SF, which is their traditional 49ers helmet, was the first step in moving out of San Francisco and into potentially San Jose. As we all know, the 49ers never actually moved out, and because of this helmet change, the fans hated it, so they went back to their normal standard helmet. So in 2002, the Buffalo Bills decided to change their uniforms. They wanted to update, give themselves a new modern look, and with that came a new logo. As we can see, this logo is a lot different than what they actually used at the time and what they still use now. This logo obviously has a buffalo, which is completely different than what their design is. It's a little gray or brownish color looking, and then there's a B with the blue and the red lines, which is supposed to be for Buffalo and Bills. Obviously they didn't really go with this logo, but it's a very cool logo. I actually really like it a lot. I mean, I kind of like it better than what they currently have, so what do you guys think about that? Back when the Cleveland Browns were actually a really good team, back in 1965, the team actually designed a new logo to be used on helmets for the 1965 season. There's a lot of conflicting reports on what exactly happened with this logo. Some reports saying that players were consulted about this design and they really didn't like it. This decal on the helmet was actually never worn in game, and there's no actual images with players wearing this decal on their helmet. This was a confirmed design, but it was never actually worn in game. There's also some reports that they actually used it in practice or training camp, but there's no actual evidence for that, so there's a lot of conflicting information. But I personally don't really like this logo, even though, I mean, for the 1960s, it's alright, I guess. I don't know. I know a lot of Browns fans want to just keep the plain, simple orange. So in 1997, as we all know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kind of redesigned their uniforms, and with that came a lot of helmet design ideas. And these are some of the helmet design ideas. They're all variations of pirates, flags, and skulls and different designs. I think they're actually really cool, and any one of them could have been a cool helmet for the Buccaneers. Obviously, we know what they ended up choosing, but these helmets include a variety of black, white, and gray colors, and obviously the flags and all the different logos are pretty interesting to look at. So in 2001, the Indianapolis Colts actually wanted to update their logo, and they were looking for potential logos to use for the following season. So this is one of the designs that were recommended and what they thought about using for the season. However, they didn't actually use it, and there isn't much information about this logo. But instead, as we all know, what they currently have is just the plain, simple horseshoe. It's more of an updated look of what they had. It's slightly different, not much of a big change. But this proposed logo design is actually pretty cool. I don't really like it as an actual NFL logo, but it's interesting to look at, and it's crazy how it can go from just a simple horseshoe to something this elaborate, you know? So in 1997, the Miami Dolphins actually wanted a new helmet design. So this is actually what they came up with. It features a much larger dolphin, but this design was actually never used. Instead, they just updated their existing logo and put it back on the helmet. It's basically the same thing as what their old logo used to be, and currently now they have a completely different logo. But I do think this helmet design idea was actually really cool, and I really like it as a Dolphins helmet. What do you guys think? It's probably one of my favorite helmet designs for the Miami Dolphins overall. So in the 1960s, when the Atlanta Falcons were actually first being created, they had to create a new logo for the team. So these two helmets are actually two proposed logos that they were going to go with. One is the black falcon head, and the other is the white falcon head. Obviously, they didn't go with either of the designs. We know what they went with, which is this logo right here. But I do think it's interesting to look at what potential logos could have been on your Atlanta Falcons at the time. So later on in 1974, the Atlanta Falcons actually wanted to change their uniform completely. So this is actually one of their proposed helmets for the uniform change. Unfortunately, or fortunately, they actually never really changed anything in 1974. So this helmet kind of just went out the window, you know? But this is an interesting design. It obviously just has a normal Falcons logo, and then it was a white helmet. So it's a little bit different than what they had at the time. But it's interesting to see that they tried to do something different. So prior to the Jacksonville Jaguars joining the NFL, in 1993, they had all their logos and uniforms set prior to joining the NFL. This is what they actually had, which is this Jaguar like leaping across the air, I guess. And actually, very interesting enough, Jaguar, which is a car manufacturer, actually copyright claimed them and threatened to sue them because the logos are actually really similar to what the Jaguar's car company logo is. So instead, Jacksonville had to completely redesign all their logos and all their uniforms. And this is what the logo that they redesigned to at the time. And that's how they started out their franchise. So it's interesting how a car company actually threatened to sue an NFL team because their logo was so similar to what they actually had. In 1971, the New England Patriots wanted to have an alternate helmet that fit the design of the 1970s and the style in general. This is what they actually came up with, which is a P with a bunch of swirlies. It kind of reminds me of the Phillies logo from back in the day. This helmet was actually never used in game or in practice or anything, but this was a potential design, and I think this was actually a really cool design for the time period and should have been worn in game. Unfortunately, it never did. They just stayed with Pat the Patriot. So a lot of New England Patriots fans know that the Patriots didn't actually change their logo to what they currently use now until 1996. However, did you guys know that in 1978, a logo change was proposed? And this is the change that was proposed, featuring this logo, which features a Patriot with a flag going out of it. And as you can see, it features a lot of elements that are in the current logo. So this probably gave a lot of inspiration to what the current logo is. And it looks interesting. It's something different. I've never really seen a design like that for the New England Patriots before. In 2002, the Seattle Seahawks were in the process of redesigning their uniforms, and 3 different prototype helmets were created for the new uniforms. Unfortunately, 2 out of the 3 were thrown out because they were just sitting in a storage room, and interns just threw them out because they actually didn't go with any of the 3, but this one was saved by the designer and the creator. And this is actually a very interesting design for a Seahawks logo in general. Obviously, it features the red eye and the green looks different, and it adds like more feathers on the Seahawk in general. So it's an interesting design. Never seen anything like it before. I mean, it's kind of similar to what they currently have, but it's still different and pretty cool design. I've never seen anything like it. In 1973, the Minnesota Vikings actually proposed a prototype white helmet as an alternate design for their purple helmets that they used at the time. Obviously, the design didn't go and they never actually used the white helmet, but it's basically the same thing. It's very similar to their purple helmets, just white. It's interesting how it was proposed but never actually used in game. Lastly, in 2003, the Minnesota Vikings proposed a completely new uniform design, and the uniform actually featured a secondary logo of a Viking ship. It looks like in the shape of Minnesota, the state, which is an interesting design. Unfortunately, the uniform was rejected, and with that, the logo actually never was seen in game. But it is a cool design. It's very interesting. I wish they could bring it back, but guess not. That's what it is. And that's all the unknown and unused NFL logos and helmet designs. If you thought these were interesting and have never seen them before, click the like button and share this video with your friend Alex. Oh, and subscribe if you're new.